Hey YouTube, thanks for tuning in. Two new awesome budget multi-channel car and boat radios have been released recently, both with large display and a lot of program functions. The HotRC CT-8A, which is apparently also sold as Rlaarlo CT-8A with 8 channels, and the DumboRC DDF-350 with even 10 channels. My HotRC CT-8A came with an 8-channel receiver without gyro function. The Rlaarlo CT-8A radio seems to come with the receiver with inbuilt gyro. But apart from that, I checked the Rlaarlo website and those radios seem to be identical as far as I can say now. Before I start to go in details, here a short overview which will hopefully answer those questions which will normally be asked first in the comments. Four-wheel steering? No, neither HotRC nor DumboRD do have a special four-wheel steering 4WS mix function, unfortunately. But I will show you ways, rather cumbersome ways, to use four-wheel steering modes with those radios in the end of this video. But both do have tank modes. The HotRC does have 3 special boat modes, the DumboRC radio not, but of course you can also set up different boat modes with the DumboRC DDF-350. Both have a special winch mode, and you can control a winch in 2 different ways with the HotRC CT, and even in 3 different ways with the DumboRC radio. I will show this in this video, in the end of this video. Both do have voltage telemetry, so you can see the voltage of the battery of your model on the screen of the radio. Very nice. With both radios you can control and adjust the gyro if you use a receiver with gyro inbuilt. The HotRC receiver does not have a light controller, and there are several models of DumboRC receivers with light controllers, which you can control by the radio. The 10-channel receiver X10F can control lights. I will show how this works. According to the companies, both radios do have several hundred meters of control distance. I didn't test. The HotRC CT-8 does have 8 channels, the DumboRC DDF-350 even 10 channels. The HotRC radio does have 8 models which you can program and set up. The DumboRC DDF-350 even 10 models. However, take care. This is not a real model memory. Receivers of both radios will connect to every model after once bound to the radio, so not only to the model it has been set up for. Both radios do have a color screen, no touch screen, and now in early February 2024 I couldn't find any detailed manual for both. Neither for the HotRC radio nor for the DumboRC radio, searching the internet really intensely, so only the super short manuals that come with the radios seem to be available to date. Now in February 2024 there is only one 8-channel receiver available for the HotRC CT-8 in 2 versions, with and without gyro. However, there is also a 6-channel receiver for other HotRC radios, and I assume this will work too with the CT-8, but I do not have this 6-channel receiver, so I couldn't test it, but I guess it will work. For the DumboRC radio there are many different receivers available, from 4 to 10 channels. 7 different types of receivers, and 6 of those 7 types are available in 2 versions, with and without gyro inbuilt. So all in all there are 13 different receivers available for the DumboRC radio. All will bind to this DDF-350. And you can also choose between different receivers when ordering the DDF-350 at most dealers. I ordered it with the 10-channel receiver without gyro. Both radios are available with plastic and metal handwheel. The versions with metal wheel are about $10 more expensive than the versions with plastic wheel. The HotRC CT-8 does only have buttons to control channels 3 to 8 and one single 3-position switch, while the DumboRC DDF-350 does also have 2 knobs, so control dials, what is very useful in many cases and very nice. The menu of the HotRC CT-8 is available. You can choose Chinese or English, while the DumboRC DDF-350 does additionally also now in February 2024 have German, very important, sehr wichtig für meine deutschen Freunde, and also French is available to choose from. However, both radios are ready for firmware upgrades via USB-C, so maybe in future additional languages will be added. And both radios are really very easy to program and very suitable for beginners, so totally in contrary to the Radiomaster MT12. So, if all your questions have now already been answered, thanks for watching. Hope to see you in my next video. But if you want to know more about those two radios, then please stay. I will explain and compare those really in detail now. I will show all menu functions of both radios in detail, but if you are only interested in one of the two, then you can go directly to this radio. You find this timestamp here. And because that's probably the most frequently asked question, I will explain how to set up a winch with both radios in detail. Two ways for the HotRC CT-8 and even 3 ways for the DumboRC radio. And if that's what you are interested in, you can go directly to this part of the video. Both the 8-channel HotRC CT-8 and the 10-channel DumboRC DDF-350 come for an awesome price. You can get the HotRC radio for less than 40 bucks and the DDF-350 with plastic wheel, and depending on receiver you choose, for about 50 to 55 bucks. Using some discounts, I paid about 34 euros only for my HotRC CT-8 and only about 48 euros, including the 10-channel receiver without gyro, for my DumboRC from Banggood. And to my knowledge, there is only one further 8 or more channel radio with display and program menu to date that's also that cheap. That's the small LDARC CT-01 with a very small display. I did already show this radio in a YouTube video last year. If you're interested, check it. But now let's check what we get for our money, and I will review those two radios in detail. To demonstrate all switches and knobs and functions, I've prepared 7 servos and a small ESC with a motor for the HotRC 8-channel radio, and even 9 servos, also somewhere a small ESC and a motor for the DumboRC radio, LEDs somewhere, a winch, a lot of receivers and whatnot. Now let's check what we get for our money. Both radios do come quite nicely and securely packed. The HotRC box, and inside simply one of those plastic covers, and the DumboRC box bit nicer, and inside no plastic, but as we know from DumboRC, more secure foam inside. With the CT-8 you get the box for AA batteries if you want to use, a wire for voltage detection of your model battery, you get a USB-C cable for data and they say charging what doesn't work, and you get a very simple manual in Chinese on one side and English on the other side. What's a bit annoying, they use their special terms for the terms of the radios and binding, they call it Bing. So very short manual, and I didn't find a better manual so far. And of course you get the 8-channel receiver. With the DumboRC you only get the receiver and also a wire for voltage detection, but it's by far not as flexible, so probably you wouldn't use this. You can easily make your own. And also a very simple manual, short manual. So far I didn't find a more detailed one. The HotRC radio can be powered by 3 different types of batteries. What you can see here, you can put AA batteries or nickel metal hydride rechargeable batteries using this adapter. Here you have a JST-XH balance plug, and you can use a 2S LiPo. And what's super cool, here you can open this, and into the handle you can use lithium-ion batteries, 18650 size. You will have to use batteries with button. Those flat ones won't work, however they will work. I will show it to you if you use kind of a bit of aluminium paper. So check this out, it won't work, it will not power up now, but the old trick. It will also work with a flat battery. But what's quite annoying, both Rlaarlo and HotRC tell you you can charge your 18650 battery by the USB port. You get a USB wire, but and you also get an Allen wrench for adjusting the tension of the throttle trigger here. But this does not work. For me it doesn't work. I tried with different power supplies, a very strong and new PD power supply and then a normal power supply. I tried with different 18650 batteries and it will not charge. I even tried overnight and no charging for me. They say it will charge, but it will not. And you can also not power up the radio simply by the USB port. If you put it into a power supply or whatever USB port, this will also not work. But I thought that's super cool, you can charge your 18650 by USB. For me it does not work. Using different power supplies, using different USB-C cables, using and testing different 18650 batteries does not work. Also not overnight, no change of the voltage. And the DumboRC you can power with LiPos or AAA2. Quite hard to open. You can see it here. That's not a JST-XH balance plug, but that's a JST red plug. You can put your 2 or 3S LiPo and plug it in here if you want. The HotRC you can only use a 2S LiPo, but 18650. And of course you can use AA batteries or rechargeable batteries. I will use the AA rechargeable batteries. Weight of the HotRC CT-8 without battery holder inside, 235 grams. And then with the 18650, 274 grams. And with AA's, 350 grams about. And the DumboRC, come on, kitchen scale, 281 grams without battery, and with 4 AA's then 403 grams. But that's also strongly depending on your AA's. I found now those IKEA Lada 2450, 29 gram, and the Lada 1900 only 25 grams, so 4 grams lighter. And better compare the empty weight, and that's 283 for the Dumbo, and 235 for the HotRC, so that's lighter, but it also does feel lighter and not that sturdy. So let's compare the two radios, the HotRC and the DumboRC. Both quite nice in the hand. The HotRC radio does have a knob here for one wheel steering and does come with a foam on the wheel. That's plastic, the plastic wheel, but you can also order with metal wheel for about $10 more. The DumboRC plastic wheel you can order with metal wheel too. I have rather small hands, but I nearly can do one-hand drive. However, you can buy such a handle, a ring for the DumboRC radios for one-hand driving. All in all, the Dumbo is a bit larger and it feels a little bit better. But mainly here on the screen side, this looks more quality from the DumboRC. Also battery compartment, both have carbon style looking plastic, probably stickers on the handle. DumboRC also here. The HotRC does have a USB-C plug here for charging what does not work, for updating, and also for trainer mode. And also the DumboRC does have a USB-C plug here for updates and a 3.5mm jack plug. And it does also have this trainer mode for learning. I don't really know who will ever use this in a car or pistol grip radio. For the DumboRC, you can also buy a wireless module, not very expensive. You can make that way teacher-pupil and connect two radios. I never heard of anyone who did this with pistol grip car radios. It's very popular in learning to fly planes, or mainly helicopters or drones. The HotRC 8-channel radio has 4 buttons here for channels 3 to 6, a 3-position switch. I will show those in detail how they work here, and a further button here. The DumboRC does have 2 buttons here for channel 3 and 4, 2 knobs, what's super nice here on the side, a 3-position switch, and 1, 2, 3 more buttons. Let's start with binding the receivers. The F08A receiver for the HotRC radio does have a bind button here. Connecting servos, I only connected an ESC now. We'll show you the buttons and switches later. Always where this notch is, that's the side of the signal white, yellow, orange cable. That's for the Futaba style plugs. And GR plugs you can plug in on both sides, but always where this notch is, that's the side of the signal wire. So simply switch on the receiver and you see slow blinking. Press the bind button. Now you have fast blinking. Then switch on the radio and it's already bound. Super easy that. You can also do it then from the program, I will show you later, but that's super easy and works. And in the DumboRC, same thing, connected an ESC to channel 2, white signal where the notch is on this side. It does have more buttons and you can do it several ways. Switch on the ESC. You have slow blinking and you have 2 buttons here on the left side. That's the mode button. This mode button does do nothing in this receiver because it's not the gyro version. Normally 3, if you have the gyro version, 3 fast presses of the left side, gyro on, and 3 times fast gyro off, and 1 time change gyro direction. And they also say you can adjust after pressing 2 times the endpoints. I never tried this, but the right button here is much more sophisticated. You see slow blinking now. If you press it and keep it pressed, fast blink, and then simply switch on the radio and it will connect. And that's it. So both are bound, no problem with both. So both radios are bound now, but don't forget, if the receiver is bound to the radio, it will work with all 8 models in the HotRC and with all 10 models in the DumboRC. So not only bound to the model you initially bound it to. I won't explain the display now in detail, I will do this later. But since we are now in the status of not having connected a ton of wires of servos, only the ESC, I will check the voltage detection of those 2 radios. Both have this option. You can see the voltage detection, what is called RX, what would be receiver voltage here on the HotRC radio. Now it's not connected, and in the DumboRC radio, also called receiver voltage, but it's the battery of your LiPo you connect to your ESC. Therefore, I will use now LiPo batteries and not connect the ESCs to my lab power supply, because when I tested this, there were quite some errors when I measured the voltage of a LiPo and used the lab power supply as power supply. So I connected 2S LiPo now. Okay, it's already switched on, works, and we have the voltage detection cable here, JST GH 1.25 millimeter plug for the HotRC radio. Simply plug it into the port and plug the two pont plugs, black to the balance plug, black, and red to the balance plug, red. And now let's see, and you can see it does not work now because I connected it the wrong way around. Okay, black to black and red to red. Okay, and now you can see 8 volts. Let's check if that's correct with this tiny battery meter. 7.99 volt, 7.96 volt, and the voltage detector shows, come on, catch up, shows 8 volts, so that's quite okay. And let's also try it with a 3S LiPo. I didn't find any information, not for the DumboRC and not for the HotRC radio, what's the range of voltage detection. So I will test only 2 and 3S LiPos because I don't want to risk anything. Don't know if it will work with 4S, 5S, 6S LiPos. So black to black and red to red. This time I hope we will do it correctly. Yes. Yes. And it shows 11.4 volts. And this 3S LiPo does have 11.3 volts. I compared this tiny battery meter from ISDT several times with my high quality multimeter, and that's really quite exact. So I believe what it says. Won't take out a special multimeter for measuring now, so it's quite okay. It's quite okay. And now let's try the DumboRC radio. Also will use a LiPo battery now and not my power supply. Connected works, not yet connected to the measurement Rx voltage. Now here's the not so flexible detection cable, plus minus plus on the left side, minus on the right side. That's correct. That's 2S LiPo, red to red and black to black, and we can see it shows 8.0 volts. Okay, what's the voltage measured with the battery meter? 8.0, 7.98, so very good. And let's also try it with a 3S LiPo. Let's use a different one. Works, and red to red. And black to the outer black pin. And it shows 3S LiPo, 11.8 volts. Okay. And what does the battery meter say? .6 volts. 11.8, 11.6. Not super exact, but I think good enough to estimate the status of your LiPo and to estimate again 11.8 volts, to estimate when it's time to stop and charge or change battery. 11.6, so 0.2 difference. That's quite exact, but they do have it and it's okay. The DumboRC X10F receiver does have a light controller integrated, and that's quite nice. And description says control lights by every channel. And again, I tried as I did, and some people tried to help me with some elder receivers to connect the LEDs to pins of any channel, and without any success. Someone told me you have to do 4 times, turn the steering wheel, then it goes on off. No, that's not the fact. I did now find what this means. It means you can control the light connected to this light port LED. You see it here with minus left and plus right. All this means you can control this port by every channel of the radio. So, and therefore you will need the buttons. The left button I did already explain seems not to have any function here because it's not a gyro version. 3 times press gyro on, 3 times press gyro off, 1 time change gyro direction, 2 times should be endpoint adjustment. Don't know how this works. The right button, that's the sophisticated button. Long press, as we have already seen, goes to bind mode. 1 short press says runaway protection, so I think this sets failsafe, don't know, did not really test. And then you can press it 2 times and it will turn red, and then we are in the light program modus, and you can press it 3 times and then it will turn to a kind of green red, and then we are in PPM mode. But therefore first I will have to switch on the receiver, and you see the lights are on now, because originally those lights are on channel 3, and channel 3 you see it glimmering green, I hope a little bit. That's on now. On, off, and no other channel does anything. So originally lights are controlled by channel 3, which in factory version is this button here. You can assign them to all buttons at channel 3 to all buttons. But then you can go into this light program mode. Therefore you will have to, what was this? Press the button 2 times and it will turn red. And now I have channel 3 for light control. Now I press channel 4, and what's interesting, now channel 4 is the light controller. Channel 4 has a blinking mode. Channel 3, constant light on off. Channel 4, blinking mode. And how to confirm this? With one short press. So you see red blinking, and one short press it turns green. Now I switch it off and on again. Channel 4 is still on. Channel 4 now controls the light, and the lights are in blinking mode. How to change this I do not know. And channel 3 does nothing now. But check this 2 times, it turns red. And now I turn off channel 4 and I use this push button, that's channel 10 I guess, and check it. Now this one switches on off lights. One short press, it turns green, and now it's stored. It's on because glimmering, this channel is on. And all the other channels do nothing now. And what's super cool, what I found, it does also work. Let's 2 times red. I can do it with a 3 position switch. Then you have blinking mode in center position, steady lights, right position, lights off on the left position. So that's quite cool. One press, and now it's stored. I switch it off, on, off, on, and nothing happens here, nothing here, nothing here. We are on the left side, nothing. Center position, blinking lights. Right position, full steady lights. That's super nice and cool. And it even works with the 2 turning knobs. Again, red. Now I can assign every channel what I want. And I take one of the turning knobs now and check this out. Center, blinking lights. Right, steady lights. Left side, off. Center, blinking lights. Right, steady lights. Left side, off. I want the left knob now. So one press, green light, and it should be stored. Now this shouldn't work anymore, but this now is the light switch. That's quite cool, and I couldn't find it in any manual, and this means I want this switch again, and without blinking mode. Okay, now it's stored. We can switch it off, we can switch both off. Turn on radio again, and we have a simple light switch without blinking mode. Here, channel 4, only blinking mode. Here, doesn't work now, without blinking mode. Here, the 3 position switch, you have blinking and full light, steady light, and with the turning wheel, so with the knobs, you have this too. So this means control light by every channel, not the channel of the receiver, channel of the radio. 2 times, red, set the channel you want with the mode you want. 1 time, save, stored. And then we have PPM mode. What is PPM mode? The receiver has a PPM out, and PPM, all those channels are PWM channels. This means PWM signals, pulse width modulation, and that's normal for our normal receivers. Every channel has 1 signal out, so every channel for 1 servo or whatever, or 1 ESC. And in drones, for example, many people don't have so much room for so many channels and so many wires and cables, and it would be much nicer if all those signals here out of all 10 channels would come out of only 1 signal wire. And that's why they use PPM mode. So all 10 channels then are coming out of are transmitted by 1 signal wire, and that's the port for is. PPM means pulse position modulation, and if you press it 3 times, this, you will see it turned from green into a kind of amber green, and that's PPM mode. And now this port should work. All the other ports still work, and you could connect this probably to a flight controller or something, but don't know for cars if there is really someone who maybe. So 3 times PPM, 3 times we have normal green. I hope you can see the difference. 3 times it turns to a kind of lighter green with the orange, steady green. 1 time, set failsafe. No, now I'm in now I'm in binding mode. Come on. 1 time should be failsafe. 2 times, that's set every channel for light control. Confirm with 1. 3 times, change light PPM mode. 3 times normal mode. So wow, this receiver does have quite a lot of options, and it would be really nice if there would be any detailed manual about this DumboRC. That's unbelievable. Don't know how much time I used and wasted to check how this light controlling by every channel works, also already with the elder 6-channel receivers which have this function, and now I got it. And now let's check all the switches and buttons of the 2 radios. Therefore I have 7 servos for the HotRC radio here. I will connect 6 of those 7 servos to the receiver. Why only 6, you will see in a minute. And I do have 9 servos for the DumboRC radio here, and will connect all 9 servos to the Dumbo receiver now. So let's start with the HotRC CT-8. And why only 7 and not 8 servos? It's a bit of a bummer. It's so narrow here, where you have to plug in your servo plugs, that it's absolutely impossible to connect 8 servo plugs. to the receiver. I tried everything, no chance, no chance. Channel 8 also works, so one would have to use, maybe not use one channel, use it for whatever without servo plug, and maybe for the gyro, or use the servo plug without the case and only shrink tube, but it's absolutely impossible. No chance. I tried everything, so I have connected only 6 of the 7 servos now. In the DumboRC 10-channel receiver, it's no problem at all. I have connected 9 servos and the ESC and the LED light, no problem. In the 8-channel receiver here, only 7 servo plugs, 1 from the ESC and 6 from the servos. And now let's check the menu, not the menu, the main screen of the HotRC radio. Here you can see the timer. I will explain timer in detail when I explain the menu. Here you can see RX volume, that's the volume voltage. That's the voltage of the battery of your car, truck. I didn't connect the wire now. RSSI is the signal strength. You see it's very good now. And radio volume. What's a bit annoying, you can change this. I have to change this. And here you have channel 1 and 2. Channel 1 is of course steering. You see it here on the screen. Unfortunately, it's not very good to see. And channel 2. Channels 3, I was wrong before. Channel 3, 4, 5, 6 are not those buttons here. Channel 3 is this push button here. And you see that's a momentary switch. And you can also see it here. Very hard to see, channel 3. This green blue is really hard to see. But that's a momentary switch. But you can change all those switches, or switches, all those buttons, A, B, C, D, and this one, which is called SWA. You can change them from momentary to 2-position and 3-position switches. What's super nice, and I will show you when I explain the menu in detail. And here we have a 3-position switch. That's channel 4. You can see this servo. And here, come on, give us a little bit of light. So here there's 3-position switch. Hope you can see anything on camera, because it's hard for me to see here. Green, I don't know why they use this green. And here then we have channel 5, 2-position switch now, but you can change to momentary switch and even to 3-position switch. That's channel 5. Then channel 7, B, so A is channel 5, B is channel 7. You can see it here. This servo here. And B is channel 6. Green on blue. C is channel 6. And channel 8 is D. No servo connected, but channel 8 also does work, of course. I will unplug servo channel 7 and wow, that's on channel 7 now. I want channel 8. Okay, this is a Tower Pro, super cheapo. However, it works. And you can see it here, and now it's silent. And you see also from 1000 to 2000. And we can adjust all this. That's super cool in the menu, and I will show you the menu in detail. But first I will show the switches, plugs, buttons of the DumboRC radio. And I will remove this Tower Pro servo and connect this silent servo again. In the DumboRC receiver, no problem. Again, where the notches are, signal wire, 9 servos, ESC plus LED lights. Here for the DumboRC, and now it's on. And what we see on the main screen here, the battery of the radio, it's in percent here. It's quite nice to see. And RX voltage, that's the model LiPo. I did not connect the wire now. Then signal strength, 70% now. And timer, I will explain the nice timer functions in detail a little bit later when I explain all the menu points in detail. And again, we have, I'm not a big fan of this. You see channel 1, servo, and that's okay for setting up. But this always to see how the servos move, that's not super important. And super cool LED lights. You can switch those off. I will show this to you when I explain the menu. And we have channel 2. And we have channel 5. Channel 5 is one of the knobs, and that's super nice. Check this out. Those knobs do have, unfortunately you do not feel the center, but they give a sound, and that way you can move the servo with this knob, and that's super nice. Also for winch control, I will show you winch controlling. That's channel 5. The display of the Dumbo is much easier and clearer to read. And channel 6, that's this tiny servo here. The same, super nice, and you can see it on the display. Those knobs are awesome. And then we have channel 3 and channel 4 here. And you see those, I don't really need to see those. You see the positions here of those channel 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, the position of the servo. So channel 3, and it's also a light control. I still didn't change this. So that's a 2-position switch. You can change it in the menu to a momentary switch, but not to a 3-position switch as in the HotRC. So channel 3, channel 4, also set up as 2-position switch, but can be changed. And then we have channel 5, 6, we did already show, 7, 8. No, we have this 3-position switch. How complicated is this with 10 servos? Okay, here we have a 3-position switch, and you can see here up, center, down, center, up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we have 8, 9, 10. So that's channel 8. You see that's a momentary switch push button, but you can change it in the model settings to a push button. Come on. And on the main menu You see it moving here. And then we have channel 9. That's a 2-position switch, but you can change it in the menu. And channel 10. Again, 2-position switch. What can be changed? So super cool. And honestly, the display of the DumboRC is better readable than the display of the HotRC CT-350, mainly because of this screen. We will check if you can change color settings, because this screen on, that's a kind of dark blue grayish background, is really very hard to see. And now it's time to explain all those menus in detail, and I will start with the HotRC CT. So here the display again of the HotRC CT-8. I did already show it to you. All 8 channels, servo position. Here the timer. Here the voltage of the LiPo or battery of your model if the wire is connected. The signal strength and the voltage of the radio. And here in shortcuts as we are used from smartphones or whatever, model 1, and strength, and here a car symbol. We have 2 buttons or 1 scroll wheel button to program. So the scroll wheel, press, you enter, and a short press on the on-off button is the back. So if we enter, we see here part 1 of the menu is model, select name, copy, reset. I will show this later. Part 2 is channel. A lot of settings here, very nice. Mix setup, also nice. For the radio, settings in the radio, and 5 system. 5 system I want to show you first, because I want to show you how to reset to factory settings. So I'm now on 5 system. Use the press the wheel to get in 1 system, 2 joystick, timer, about is what version you have or we have, and we go back and reset. I want to show you reset first, because then I will change the settings. So reset is easy. Simply press 2 times and the radio will switch off. If you switch it on again, take care, because the language settings are set to Chinese here. So if you press now OK, you will have the Chinese menu and have to go in Chinese back to page 5. Scroll and it's OK. If you reset it, the receiver will still stay bound, so it doesn't have to be bound again. We go back to 5 system, about, I did already show you, system. That are quite nice settings. You see here battery, auto, 4 AA's or a 2S LiPo or a 1S lithium ion battery. And I go to 4 AA's now, because I use 4 AA's now. Then we have reminder mode, that's the beep. You can switch it off or keep it, no more options. Then the LCD brightness, it's on 70%, and I go to 100 now and hope this improves the video quality. The sleeping brightness, so if the radio, the screen goes to sleep mode, it's on 10%, that's okay. But sleep time 30 seconds, that's quite annoying for me, mainly now when I show this radio. So I will set it to whatever, 5 minutes. And here you have, and that's important if you should happen to choose Chinese, page 5. That's the 1 to 6th point. and you can choose only English or Chinese. And shutdown on off, so that's a auto shutdown after whatever I forgot it after probably half an hour, so that's okay to be on. And setup log, if you switch this on, you see this symbol here, and probably then it's not possible to change any settings. Maybe that's okay if you give the radio or your truck to someone who's not very experienced. We let it off now, and short press, we come to the previous menu and 5-4 radio, and we can also do this now, and then we go to into the guts. So I press again, and now we have pairing. Here you can bind the receiver. You can switch off the radio, put, as I did already show you, the receiver in bind mode and switch on the radio, and everything will be fine. If the radio is on, you can start this here, and you have RF send, and that's strange. You see this, everything works. I don't really know for what this is. If we do it on open, nothing works again. So I'm not sure for what this RF something to do with the signal is, but I will close it, and now everything works again. So that was pairing, failsafe, and that's quite nice. You can set failsafe, come on, for every channel, and you have 1500 as center position. You know this from drones, between 1000 and 2000 and 1500 would be 0, but in the servers of the other channels, why is an error? Okay, now I have it on 1000. Set error. What message does come here? Receiver disconnected and reconnected. I hope this works. So channel 1, 1500 would be 0. That's okay. Now I have 1500, that's center. Channel 2, 1500, that's throttle. That's okay too. And that's on hold. That's okay. You could set for all the other channels, and then you should probably set to center. Those error messages are quite a bit strange. Control. Gyro. I do not have the receiver with the gyro function, so I can't show you this. Here you can control the gyro if you should have the receiver with the gyro function. Then we have postback, and that's the voltage control of your model LiPo. Battery type auto. User 654. I have connected it 2S LiPo, now 2S. But if you have 2S, you see low voltage alarm of your model goes to 7.3 volts. That's about 3.65 volts per cell. That's okay, but for me, I don't need an alarm here, but I cannot change it. I only can change it with user. So where is user? Here. And now I can go lower and could, for example, because I normally observe my batteries really well. So now we come to 8.4. That's a full 2S LiPo. And I wanted, for example, an alarm I do normally not need. But let's go to 6.6. For me, that's okay. I will not run it to 3.3 volts per cell. But alarm, that's alarm for me. That's okay. And what's quite nice too, I hope you can see it here, you can do voltage correction. As I have shown you before, that the voltage detection is not super accurate. And here, I guess we had half 0.1 volts too much. So, for example, but of course I would measure the voltage now again and check what's the difference. And now 7.56 volts, so now I kind of calibrated the voltage. Okay, that's post back, quite strange name. And training, then you can with a USB-C cable connect two radios and use this trainer mode, as it is super popular in planes and in helicopters. So it's off now, and you can, what's that, PPM port, that's probably the USB-C port. You can switch it on and you can choose between master and slave. I call it teacher and pupil, at least in German we call it that way. Master, slave. Okay, I will never use this. And you saw here the symbol. So if you switch it on, then you have here the symbol, I'm the master. And if I go to slave, okay, it goes here to slave. But I want null. And yeah, don't know if anyone will ever use this. Let's go back. Okay, training. This was the part 4 of 5 of the menu. And I go back again. And now I can go to 3, 2, 1. And now we will go to start to the part 1 of the menu. Then I press. And here we have select model. We are on model 1 now. You can choose between 8 different models. And you can set up all those models, but take care, as I already told you, I'm on model 1 now. Okay, and now I will switch off the receiver, what I would do, and choose a different model, model 5. Okay, and we go back, and you see here now, model 5. And I switch on the receiver that has been bound to model number 1. And what happens? Works completely normal, so that's quite a bummer. It's completely unimportant which model you choose, the receiver will bind. So I choose again model 1. But you will have the different settings, so that might be okay, but take care to use the correct place if you have some specially set up model. Model name, and you have here the model number, and then you can change the name, and that's absolutely difficult to read. I don't know if you can read it. TU. So that blue on brown, it's horrible. And you have only 6 digits to enter, and there don't seem to be any capitals, numbers, and super difficult to read. Okay. They should really change the color settings of this radio. And then we have model copy. That's quite nice. So you see, now we are in the model. I changed the name right now. And you can copy this to place 2. Then all the settings are on place 2. However, the name has not been changed. So model 1 DSFHL1 and model 2 do now have the same settings but not the same name. Model 2 is still model 2 and you have to set the name. And reset, that's again, as factory reset is probably for the radio, and that's only for the model. and all settings are reset to factory settings. And then we go to channel number 2 of 5, and that's super nice, super easy. So press once and now I'm on phase. Phase, that is simply reverse. So I hope you can see it. Channel 1, reverse, and reverse for all 8 channels. Super easy. So whatever, channel 3 and reverse. Super nice, super easy to program, and for all 8 channels really nice. And even better, range. Check this out, for all 8 channels. So they call it range. Normally that's called travel by spectrum, weight by edge, and in most radios it's called endpoints. So that's super nice that you can set those on all 8 channels. That's really super nice. For example, check this servo, and you can do what you want. That's super helpful. You can do this for every channel. I will go to 0 now. So now I'm on 0, and you see, moves only halfway. And I could also reduce the way on the other side. So as endpoint travel adjustment works, and this scrolling is a bit, takes forever. Super nice for all 8 channels. And I go back. I want to go back. And now we go to fine tuning. What is this? That's simply trim of the center position. So you can do it for every channel. Check the steering servo. That's the, it goes super slow, but it works, and this is super nice. So you can trim all channels. This should be the center position of this servo. It's only a 2-position switch now. For every channel, all 8 channels, this is really nice and super easy to do too. And now we have remapping, and that's even cooler. You don't have to take all the buttons and switches for the channels as it's in factory setting. No, it's not. You don't have to do it. Only for channel 1 and 2, throttle and steering, of course. But channels 3 to 8 you can set as you want. Switch A is this switch. Check it out. And that's channel 3. And I go to channel 5 now. That's this channel. And that's set to A here. And I change this now to switch A. And now both are on switch A, channel 5 and channel 3. So switch A is this. And you see, both do work. And can we do 3? You see, channel 6 is that servo, and that's on C. Let's do it to switch A too. Okay, and now switch A should control all 3 servos. And yes, it does. That's super nice. Really. And that's super helpful in programming. Very well done this, and super easy to do. Not complicated at all. And finally, button definition. That's even better. And here the HotRC radio is even better than the DumboRC radio. Check it out. You can define all 6 channels, not channel 1 and channel 2, what you want them to do, how you want them to react. So switch A is that switch, and you see that's a momentary switch now. Momentary, as long as I stay on the switch, the servo stays in the other position. As soon as I go back, it will go back. But that's called once. Here I call it momentary switch. You can do double, as in most other servos or channels, and you see now that's a 2-position switch now. But what's even cooler, you can third, and third is a 3-position switch. Check this out. And you can do this with every channel. So switch B is double now. And I want a momentary switch. Now it's a momentary switch. And 3-position, and that's super nice. That way you can even control a winch, but there are better ways to control a winch with this radio. So super nice, really well done HotRC. That's so easy and easy to program. And we go once back, and now we go to mix setup, and that's the last point of the menus I have to explain through. That's 5 out of 5 for us, but we did already do 4 and 5. Mix setup. What can we do? Direction. And I don't know why this is called direction. Nothing. And I don't know why this is called apron wheel. That's the tank mode. I don't know what apron means and why that's for tanks or vehicles on tracks. So now I'm in normal mode, throttle, steering, and now I go to apron wheel, and now check this out. That's tank mode. So and if you steer, oh, check it out, here is a tank sign. So it's tank mode and it's called apron wheel. Steering wheel controls channel 1 and 2 for steering, and of course you don't need a servo but a second motor then. And the throttle trigger controls both too. And then we have 3 boat modes. That's a bit strange. This mode A, you have the null, you have to assign or adjust this to null be on this position. Motor works normal, but 0 is on another position, and the steering servo works normally. In mode B, it's different. It's probably for a 2-motor setup, so I don't know why this alarm is now. And steering also controls motor and servo, and boat 3 has the 0 in the center position, and again for 2 motors, but we want a null now. And go back, then program. That's how we will set up the winch. I will show this in the end of the video. You can connect channel A and B, now it's off, or C and D, or channel button A, B, C, D. Now it's off. You see A controls the servo, B controls the servo. But if we set it on, come on, now it's on, then A controls to one direction and B to the other direction, and that way you can nicely control a winch. I will show this to you in detail later, and you can also do it with CD. Then we have linearity, and here you have for accelerator what's probably for the throttle trigger. I'm not completely sure, because it's also brake and diversion. You can set a curve in both directions, and this works. I did test it. So here you have the motor, and that's now. And for example, if I would set it to -100, now I hope you can see it. It's really hard to see, the curve is that way, so there shouldn't be a throttle input in the beginning and super hard in the end, and that's the fact now. So it starts here now. You can adjust throttles curve also to the other direction. Of course, you can also go up, and then you can set a brake curve. Don't know how this works and what this really affects, and I did not understand what diversion means. You can set up a curve here for diversion. I'm out of any idea what this could mean. We go back and we go to ESC setup, and this is the same. You can set up kind of, it's super hard to see here. Do you see this? You can set up here a kind of curve, or not curve, a line, and if you go to 100, now you have to 0 to 500, and I'm really, maybe that's ESC setup. If you go to 100, it will be here on the right side. Maybe they have an ESC, a receiver with ESC built in, and you can adjust this here, because I'm not totally sure, and I also don't have any idea what CCS means, control system C, I don't know. And now we have a warning. I don't know why, maybe some low battery somewhere. Okay, what? Let's go to the main menu. Okay, there's alarm because of the voltage, 7.4 volts of the receiver voltage. I did set this to it was here post back. Come on, I want it. User and 6.6 volts. Okay, that's okay. Why has it been changed? And now let's go back to mix setup. We have been at ESC setup. What I don't know really, if it's maybe for a receiver ESC unit or whatever, and servos, and that's super nice. This point servos. Check what you can change here. You can change the frequency, the hertz the servos run, and it's set to 330. Those are quite fast servos, and many old servos are not able to work with 30 Hertz. I showed you this super cheapo, and therefore if you have a servo that's so annoying, I will connect the old MG 90S servo now so that you can see and hear it. Now it's silent, it's on deep, but check this out. And I hope you can hear the noise. And now we go down, for example, to 50 Hertz. And now this servo is silent. 330 is more for modern fast servos. Why do you say set error? Okay, let's remove this. And I want 330 again. And what's also fascinating, first of all, this is for all servos in all models. That's a bit unfortunate. So if you set the servo frequency to 50 Hertz, that's for every servo and for every model. And check this out, steering angle. I don't know why they have this on 90 degree, but check my steering servo out. That's of course not a lot, and you can change to 270. I don't think that's a... Okay, I was out of camera. So from 90 to 270, but I don't know if I have if that's 270, I guess not, but 180. And check it out. Now we have the 180 steering angle, but you can only switch between 180, 90 and 270. So you should check this before. Of course, with endpoint, then you can adjust it, but be careful with this. Not to set all servos to 270, because this setting again is for all servos and for all models. And normally this was the last point, super nice to program, but I forgot something. I forgot to show you the timer function, which is really nice here. And I forgot to show you the system and joystick function. So press system, I did show you. Of course. Joystick, that's calibration. So press start and then go, and this should be okay. And now I've calibrated the radio or wheel and throttle trigger to the radio again. Don't know if it's necessary, but the timer function, that's quite nice. Which servo is making noise here? The status is off now. You can choose between two different timers. A very useful lap timer, which is off now, and you have this timer. You can set it to I don't know how many minutes, and this timer is a kind of countdown. I will show it to you. I will set it to the lowest possible value, what is 1 minute, and you have trigger. You can choose between throttle and rudder. I have throttle now, and let's go back. Now the throttle trigger will start the 1 minute countdown. So here you have the timer, and it's not a countdown, of course, because it's the contrary. It counts up to 1 minute. I will speed up. 57, 8, 9. So you can set a timer that way, whatever you want to do with it. You can, if you want to drive for 10 minutes or whatever. That's more important in planes and helicopters, of course, because I'm always flying in a car. It's a bit difficult to do this with timer, because normally, at least if you aren't racing, but normally you stop, go, stop, go. But there is also a quite nice lap counting function. So we will switch the lap timer on now, and you can choose between roller for starting and stopping it. Now trigger is to start, and then for stop switch A, what is this one, and roller. I've found switch A works nicer. And now the timer will again start every time, or if throttle is on, it will run, and switch A, this one, will stop the lap counter. So let's go back to the main screen, and here you have the timer, and throttle will start the timer, and it will not stop the timer. And if I press switch A, it will be set to 0. If I'm not on 0 throttle, if I'm on 0 throttle, it will stop here with 0, but if I keep pushing throttle, it will run. And let's go in the menu again. 5, timer. Now we see here, so every time I press the button here, timer is still running. You see, another lap is added. Super slow lap, and now oh, it will not continue because I didn't pull that throttle trigger. So if you're running racing, now I have a super short lap. So that's quite nice. Super nice. And I will switch it off again. So that's it. I guess I've explained everything in the menu, or everything I understood of the HotRC CT-8. In the end of the video, I will show how to set up a winch and how to set up a kind of 4-wheel steering mode. And now to the DumboRC DDF-350, the screen. I did already explain here, battery of the radio, here the voltage of the LiPo in your car. I connected it again. The signal strength timer, I will explain later. The position of every servo, and you have 2 buttons, again a scroll wheel with button and the on-off button to use the radio. This is always the back button. One short press, you come to the overview of the models or of the menu, and back we are on the main screen. And this scroll wheel here, check this, this also highlights now the throttle, forward brake, and now the steering servo. And if you press it, it turns red, and that way you can trim from the main screen. You can see it here. Now I have 62 plus. That's the steering servo here. That's quite nice. You couldn't trim from the main screen in the HotRC radio. And here you have this sign. If you press, it turns red, and then the main screen here is locked. You have to press it again. You can switch the radio off, but you cannot do anything here. So that's quite nice too. And if you press it, it's again green. So that's the main screen. And here we come to the menu and the sub menus. We have brake here, and we have the language on the first side. I didn't know what brake means. I thought it means back. And if we go to the language menu, you see that's in English now. We see we can choose English, Chinese, and we cannot choose German, so only Germany. That's quite odd, because in my country we also do speak German, but we are for sure not Germany, and French. So if I would choose Germany, then now it's in German, and this is zurück, and zurück is back, and of course not break. So a quite odd translation mistake again, a super simple translation mistake. And German and French, that's super important for many people, I do know. Normally we have the strange translation in German, and the English translation is always much better, and I highly prefer English in all those devices. And then we have general menu, model menu, and transmitter settings. And again, I will begin with the last point because I want to show you. Press it once, then you have here that's always highlighted, back button, back and forward. And you see we are in point 1 of 5 of this submenu now. That's model settings. 2 is coaching, trainer mode. I will explain those later. 3 sound settings, 4 power, and 5, that's where I want to go to. Here you can calibrate, steering, throttle, and also the buttons. That's as normal. Please move to the far left steering wheel. Please move it to the far right and to center position. And now it's calibrated. Same with throttle. With the buttons it's a bit strange. But what's more important, here you have the factory reset again, and I will show this to you now. And you have the information. You have, that's hardware version 1.00 and software 1.0.9, so maybe there will be an update. And I go to factory reset, security question, yes. And now we go to the first side, and we have everything in English, in Chinese again, but scroll down, it's easier here than in the HotRC, and change from Chinese to German, French, or I guess most of you will prefer English. So that's this point. And we go to break, what means back. I will finish the transmitter settings now first. So here we have 0.5 of 5. We did already see this page. Let's start with one of this submenu. That's model settings. And we can select 10 different models here. And it's again the same thing. This model is bound to, this receiver is bound to model 1, but it will also work if I change to model 3, for example. Still everything works. And I couldn't show this to you in the HotRC radio because I do have only one receiver for the HotRC radio, but I can show it to you here. That way you can also bind 2 receivers. This tiny DumboRC X4, I will show the gyro settings later with this to you, is already bound to this radio. And now it's connected. There's only the motor, no servo. Now I will, I hope you want to see a servo maybe, because this motor is not really to see that it works. So this is quite dangerous in my opinion. On the other side, it's quite nice too, because you can use 2 receivers, for example, one in a trailer and one in the main truck. So check it out here, that's the servo that's now connected. And both throttles work too. So you can bind 2 and probably even 3 and how many you want receivers to this radio. And it's not important which model you choose. It will connect to all models. That's take care if you have complicated models. Will it work? Yes, it works. Then let's go back to model 1, even if it's completely unimportant. model renaming, and that's quite nice here. You see you have a complete keyboard, and you can go back, and it's much easier. You have capitals, you have all numbers and whatnot, and it's much easier to do and much better to read than in the HotRC radio. And you are not restricted to 6 digits. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and even a number 12. So that's quite nice to do. Return that way. Oh, and of course you have to, in the end, whatever, let's name this model PPP. And in the end you have to confirm this, otherwise name will not be changed. Then you can copy models, so that's also easy. I have copied model 1 now. And if you want to paste it, you choose the model you want, the place you want, model 3, whatever, and then go to paste model, and now model 1 is copied to model 3. However, again, the name will not be changed. And we go to our PP again, and model reset. Everything's reset, but not the name, as you can see. So this was point 1. Point 2 is coaching model. So that's again this trainer functions. For this DumboRC radio you can buy a wireless plug for here. It's super cheap. And here you can choose, I will never use it, output or input. So this means input, you are the slave or pupil, Schüler in German. And output is trainer or Lehrer in German. And we have quite a nice timer function here, but it's by far not as nice as in the HotRC radio, I think, because there is no lap counting. Didn't find anything. There are two possibilities. You can start trigger priming. Trigger priming is also hard to understand. This means the timer will start if you pull a throttle trigger, and you can choose which button to stop the timer and to reset it. I choose channel 4, and now let's go to the main page, and as soon as I pull throttle, you see timer is running. The channel 4 will not do anything as soon as I'm on throttle, but now I'm off throttle and it's stopped and it's on 0. And you can also start it with the button. So no trigger, but start button. I take K3 now, that's this button. And timer starts, and with K4 it stops and 0, but no laps. That's quite a bit a confusing mixture here in the submenus. Coaching model and timer, okay. And then we have the LED mode. The LED mode is on dynamic now. This means very important. If I turn the steering wheel, those super cool lights will be right or left, depending how I turn. Then you can go to bright, then they are always on, and you can switch those off. I will probably switch those off. We'll let it only on for demonstration purposes. Maybe there are people who like this. And then we come to point 3 of 5. Those are sound settings, and that's the power on and off sound. And you can switch this off and on. So now it's off, and if I switch the radio off, now it's silent. Wow, I didn't switch the receiver off. So that's silent now. And 2, 3. If it's on, you know the noise. And again, transmitter settings, we want to point 3, tone type all. So you hear now, each time I scroll or press a button, we have this tone. And you can mute all. Now it's silent. And alarm only. Now it's silent, but alarms will give a sound. I will choose this, but now for demonstration purposes, I will annoy you with those sounds. And the backlight, that's the backlight of the screen, is set to 90% brightness. Come on. And I goes up to 110. I want it as bright as possible. And auto off, that's when it goes to sleeping mode. It can be useful, but not in 1 minute, 3 minutes. That's maybe okay to save battery. Okay, now we come to 4 of 5. That's the power. So 50 minutes, so if nothing happens, there will be alarm. You can switch it off or can change to 30, 60. No, 15 minutes is okay in my opinion. I'm not sure. Auto off, automatic off. This means if the idle alarm is on for 5 minutes, then the radio will shut off. That's okay for me. Battery type, as you know, you can choose AA's, 2S or 3S LiPo. I have AA's. And voltage alarm for the battery of the radio, 20, 30, 40%. Close. I want 20%. That's okay. I would prefer 10%. And what you can do, you can calibrate the voltage detection, but only for the radio batteries. So you can change this, but I don't want to measure the power of the batteries inside now. For me, that's not important. What would be much nicer is main screen, the voltage detection of the receiver voltage, so of the LiPo of the model of this battery. And I couldn't find any point, as in the HotRC you could calibrate it. In the DumboRC you cannot, or I didn't find any point to do this. So we are 4 of 5 and 5 of 5. Oh, this I did already show you. Calibration and factory reset. And now we can start with the general menu. That's also very nice here. Radar reading is okay. You see what the servos do if you want this. But that's already nicer. That's the reverse, servo reverse or channel reverse. And that's so cool. Also in this radio, you can reverse all channels you want. What is this channel? Channel 4, and now it's reverse, and now it's normal again. And this is really super helpful that you also can reverse the channels of those auxiliary channels, so of channels 3 to 10. Often that's really super helpful if you set up some complicated models. Point 3, again, super nice. Those are endpoints. You can adjust the endpoints, which are called, what was the name in the HotRC? I did already forget it. Its weight in the HTX and its travel in spectrum. And HotRC, I would have to look the video up, does use a very new special name, and you can adjust those on both sides. So that's my steering servo here for the channels 1, 2, and those 5, 6, where you have the turning knobs. You can see this here, and you see it here. And I think that's super nice. You can't do it that way for every channel, but you can go to 110, no, 120. I think super nice for both sides steering, of course, most important. Then throttle, you could, for example, go back, because if you don't want a 100% reverse, you want it slower, you can go to 50% or whatever, like the new Endura ESC does have. You cannot change it there. And of course, check this out, you can, if you want, have someone who's not for children. Now it's much slower. That's kind of in effect, this dual rate is endpoint adjustment on both sides, symmetrical, and endpoint is you can adjust those as you want in both directions. So that's of course much nicer. So, but if you have children or whatever who are and have a very fast car, set it to 20% back and front, and then nothing should happen. But I want 100% now. And also scrolling here and adjusting, this is much nicer than in the HotRC. It's much faster. And you can also do it for those two knobs here. Adjust the endpoints, really nice. I would say super nice. You see, I'm on the right arrow here. And then we come to subtrim. So that's subtrim because in this radio we have a main trim on the front screen. I did already show you. So you can adjust, check my steering, but that's what every one of you knows. You have two trims, one on the main screen and a subtrim, as in all better radios. Okay, and we come to sub 0.5 of 7 aux channel, and that's the endpoint adjustment for all those channels, which only not steering, throttle, and the knobs. So you can adjust the endpoint of channels 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, no, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10. And what's super nice, check channel 7, that's this 3-position switch. You can even change the center point here. That's really super nice. So what is it? That's this servo, and now I am on 0, and you can even adjust the center position. Come on. See, and that's super nice. This would be super nice, for example, for a 2-speed transmission box. Super cool. I really love it. And 0.6 of 7 is key type. And here also, and key type for all channels but steering, throttle, and the two knobs. And here also the HotRC radio is a bit better, because here we have channel 4, check it out. It's called locking. What is it? 2-position switch, and you can only choose between locking and inching. I don't know why they call this inching. That's a momentary switch. So as long as I press the button, servo stays or signal stays. As soon as I release it, it goes back. That they call inching, and 2-position they call locking. For me, for us, this has forever been 2-position switch and momentary switch button. And you can do this on all those 5 buttons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very nice, but no 3-position switch as in the HotRC radio. The HotRC radio had an additional option. They called it third, I guess, and a 3-position switch. And the last point 7, the last submenu of this menu, and that's again super cool, remapping. You can assign every channel to every knob or button, only not to steering and throttle. So you see channel 3 is K3 now, channel 4 is K4, and VR5, that's this, is channel 5. I can get, as I could, let's do this to K4 2. We have both on K4 now, and both servos move. And VR6. Okay, let's do this to 4.2. Now we control 3 servos with this. So that's really super nice and super helpful. Awesome. In both of those radios. Switch 7 is the 3%. I won't show you more now. That's not so difficult, but it's super cool. Okay, we are finished with the second menu, with the general menu, and now we go to the model menu. And here we have again 7 points. And here we have something that's quite cool. That's called cruise control. And this will mainly, I guess, be helpful in boats. If you have slow boats. If you switch it on, you can start the cruise control by a button you choose. It's assigned here to channel 8. And you can set it with the channel 6. That's this turning wheel. And that way you have a kind of constant speed if you want. So it starts with K8. So that's normal. And if I go to K8, now it should work, but I'm here on 0. But check it out. With this wheel, I can adjust the speed, and it will keep this speed. That's could be really quite nice in a slow boat. And yeah, quite a nice option for boats for sure. In cars, trucks, maybe you want it very slow, go slow on a long trail and only use the steering wheel. And now it's off. And this doesn't do anything for this, it controls its servos. So super nice. And now it's on again. Control. This was point 1. Point 2 is steering curve, and that's also quite nice and much nicer than in the HotRC radio, but I don't need. I know such a steering curve is useful in planes. I use it, and in helicopters, in cars, I'm not really sure what it is used for, but maybe. You have presets. Check, that's the curve. Linear, then kind of expo, so the servo does not go linear. You check it a lot in the beginning and then only a little bit. Preset 2, I don't see any difference, that's linear. And preset 3 is the other way around, so only a little bit and then very much. But what's the cool point, and not so much for the steering, we won't use it so often, more for throttle, which will come next. You can see it here, you can adjust all those points, 10 different points on this curve, as you want to your liking. So I go down, 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 you see it. And you can go to all those points and adjust the throttle, or the throttle, that's steering now, as you like. I don't want the steering curve now, but here now it's much more interesting, because this can help you also in crawlers. We have the same thing for throttle, brake curve. We have again presets which are the same. 2 is linear, 3, but the interesting thing are those 10 points you can adjust as you want, and that's super helpful, or can be super helpful if you want whatever, better low speed control, or you know it from the FuryTech ESCs. So super nice. And point 4, that's gyro mix, and I will show this to you using this tiny Dumbo receiver. I will switch off this receiver now and connect one of those servos to this receiver too, and that's super cool because you can adjust the gyro intensity via radio. You see here gyro is channel 8, but you don't have to do anything with channel 8. VR5, that's the left knob here, turning knob, will adjust the gyro intensity. And I have to, what do I have to do? I have to switch on the receiver, and as I already showed you or told you, three press, and that's no gyro mode, nothing happens, and 3 times you see red, blue now, and you see it's moving, and 1 time is changing the direction. But what we do have here now, I switch this on, we can adjust the gyro intensity with this. So if I go to completely to the left side, nothing happens. If I move the receiver and little bit, turn it completely to the right side, it's super sensitive. So very nice. On the run you can adjust the gyro intensity. Super cool. So a super nice option. This option is available, I guess, in the HotRC Radio too, but I do not have the receiver with the gyro. I asked myself the question, would an external gyro work too with the DumboRC radio? And I have those DumboRC gyros. There are 3 types available, all of them in several different colors. And so I simply tested it with the DumboRC, and yes, this works. Check this out. I am here on gyro mix and switched it simply on, and it can be controlled here. And the important thing is channel 8 is gyro on the DumboRC, so I connected the 2 wires of the gyro, the first wire of this double wire to channel 1 steering, of course, and the second signal wire has to go to the corresponding port that controls the gyro sensitivity, and that's channel 8 in this DumboRC radio. It's written here. I simply plugged it in and really it works. That's quite awesome. Check it out. Of course, I didn't adjust it perfectly, and the sensitivity can also be adjusted on the gyro only a little bit. And super sensitive. So that's super nice. It works too. I also wanted to test it in the HotRC radio, but there is no indication where to connect an adjusting wire. The signal of the signal for adjusting the gyro, it looks with standard servo plugs that way. You plug this 4-pin into the gyro and then connect the normal servo plug to channel 1, and this for controlling the gyro sensitivity to channel 8. So you will need an 8-channel receiver, and here is servo is connected to the other port, but this does not work, and there is also no possibility for written here for adjusting by a knob. But I think that's super nice. This works too. Little bit and nearly nothing. Super cool. One more plus for the Dumbo radio. And point 5 is tank mix. That's again super cool and nice. Here you switch it on, and then you know, first you would have to switch the receiver on. You see steering. You of course know you wouldn't need any steering servo here, but 2 motors and also throttle controls channel 1 and 2, and you can even adjust those in intensity, whatever, play around. But that's super nice. But there is unfortunately no 4-wheel steering mode. I will show you in the end of this video some ways to use 4-wheel steering with the HotRC radio and with this DumboRC radio. And we have a winch mix, and that's super cool too. And then you can control the winch with those 2 buttons. There are also other ways. I will also show you how to set up a winch with both radios after this detailed explanation. And 7 of 7 program mix. You can mix 2 channels. So channel 1 and channel 2 is not super useful, but for example channel 1 and channel 3 is useful. Channel 3 is this servo, channel 1 is this servo, and you see now both go, and you can adjust the intensity too, and you have 2 of those. So you have 2 mixes. You can do the same, that one channel will follow the other channel. As mixing works, you can mix what you want. For example, channel 2 with what's throttle, with, won't know, any channel and any function then. So that's super nice. have to play around a little bit, and this was the last point. So we have everything now here of the DumboRC DDF-350 of the menu in detail, and now I will explain and show how to set up a winch with the HotRC and with the DumboRC radio several different ways, and I will also show you a way how you can use four-wheel steering or use different modes of four-wheel steering, but it's a bit complicated and not very convenient. Winch setup, that's what many people are super interested in, and I will show you now a winch setup in 2 or even 3 different ways for the HotRC radio, and in 3 different ways for the DumboRC radio. Here I have a winch with a tiny ESC that's powered by the receiver. So I simply have to plug it into the receiver, but it's weak, but it's super convenient in tiny models. But normally you would use a normal ESC for controlling the winch. And what is super important, if you use such a normal ESC and connect it to the receiver, you of course have to remove the red wire of the servo plug, because those ESCs all do have a BEC, and that if you would connect it with the red wire, it would probably give a big problem, because there is already the BSC of the main ESC that powers the motor powering your receiver. So you see in this ESC I've used a short extension cable, and you see I simply removed the red wire. You can completely remove it, cut it, whatever. I simply pulled it out and used a little bit of electric tape here. But let's start with the HotRC radio, and what we have here a 3-position switch, and that's this servo. And of course you can simply power the winch by a 3-position switch. So I pull this servo out and simply connect the winch ESC. You heard already it initialized, and now I should be able to okay, now it initialized, to control the winch by this 3-position switch. So you always have to, you can go in one direction, stop, one direction, stop, other direction, stop, other direction, up, stop. And what we do have, we have here the possibility, what we do not have in the DumboRC, to, I lost the servo arm, to change this for example is momentary switch. Now it's a 2-position switch, but we can change it into a 3-position switch, so that way we should be able to control a winch too. So that's D. Let's do this. Go to page 2, channel, and then go to button definition, and we see D is double, and now we change it to not once, this would be momentary, but to third. And now we have a 3-position switch, and now I plug the winch into this, to channel 8, and you heard it initialized, and here we have third, and you see that's a 3-position switch. Now I can go up, can go stop, can go down, but I cannot continue to go down. I always have to change, and that's the difference to this 3-position switch where I can go down, stop, more down, stop, more down. And as we already have seen, the DumboRC, no, the DumboRC 2, but I want on the main page, come on. The HotRC does also have a special winch mix. And therefore, we go to menu, we go to 3 program, to mix setup program. And here we have this special winch mix. You can do it with A and B and C and D, A, B, C, D. I will do it with A, B and connect it to place A. That's that servo, and simply plug the winch into this port now, but I will do it first. I activate it. Now it's on and now it should work. So, will it work now or will we have to initialize again? Okay. On. Okay, now it initialized, and now check this. It runs as second is stop, A goes down, B goes up, A goes down, up, stop, up, stop, down, stop. So quite nice that way, but also quite okay with this 3-position switch. With a normal button as 3-position switch, it's not that convenient. And in the DumboRC radio, we cannot change the push buttons to 3-position switches, but we do have a 3-position switch here in this, and we have 2 knobs, and we have a special winch mix. So let's first start with the 3-position switch. That's that one. That's this servo. With so many wires, it's quite a pain to... Okay, it's this one. Don't break it, be careful. Okay, and here I do now plug the second ESC into this port. Come on, that's nice. And nothing happens because we have to power up the second ESC, of course. Therefore, where is it? Here, here, here. I hope it's in 0 position now to initialize. It probably initialized. And now let's check. Yes, this works. So we have the 3-position switch here. Down, stop, more down, up, stop, more up, stop. Okay, works nicely, but we can also use those knobs. That's this servo. I have to plug it out. The correct servo. Come on, come on, come on. It's this one. And now I take the... Don't break it. I take the ESC, powering the, or controlling the, and powering the winch, and plugged it in wrong direction, white inside. and power up the ESC again. And it did not yet initialize. Now it did initialize. Okay, now I'm here on 0 and check this out. This is super nice controlling with those knobs, because as you can see here, I can control the speed. So slow, fast. So that's super nice. You hear the center, and that way you can even change the speed of the winch, what's I think quite nice. But we do have also a winch mix here in the DumboRC, and therefore we go to where do we go to? Model menu, and we are on 1, cruise control, steering curve, gyro mix, tank mix, winch mix, and we have to activate this. And here it says 3 and 4. You can choose 2 buttons you want. 3 and 4 is okay for me here, and of course we have to activate it. Come on. And no, what is the second servo? Is the servo we are searching for. So that's this one here. And plug the winch into the... That's too fast for me. I will switch off the winch controller. And now I will switch it on again. Hope it initializes. You heard, now it initialized, and now it should work. I should plug out the second servo, and now we have those 2 buttons, and as long as you stay, it runs in that direction as a momentary switch. Quite nice. So both work, both have this control. Here in the HotRC it runs as long as you have to push it a second time to stop. And in the DumboRC you can change some things here too, but I guess not the way it moves. You can only there make it slower, or rising ratio and decline ratio, so that's quite nice. You can make it, for example, going slower pulling, but so both directions different speed. And here as long as you keep the button pushed, it runs. So those are 2 different, the same way but different mode. But what's, I don't know if this winch mode is so super cool, or if controlling it with the knobs is better. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, that's channel 5. We can, I guess, show it with both. I hope. Yes, it initialized, and now the Dumbo should control both, I hope. Yes, it does. Check it out. This is a very slow winch with a gear motor, but you can go slow and control the speed. That's nice. And yeah, I think that's the nicest way, but you could turn it accidentally, of course, but it's a nice way. So both are okay in this. Both have nice winch modes. Both can control the winch by 3-position switch, and the DumboRC additionally by those knobs, and that way control the speed of the winch. That's super nice in my opinion. Four-wheel steering. I think it's really unfortunate that none of those radios, neither the HotRC CT-8 nor the DumboRC DDF-350 do have a four-wheel steering mix, you know, with front steer, four-wheel steer, grab and rear steer. Don't understand why, because they have quite sophisticated mixes, and other radios, cheaper radios, not cheaper, but for example FlySky GT5, they do have this. And it's super unfortunate that in the HotRC radio you even can't do any mix functions with channel 1 with steering, so there is no way at all to set up four-way steering, only this primitive way. So you have to set the second steering servo to the 3-position switch, and then you have a very primitive four-wheel steering with the rear axle servo only not proportional 100% to left or right. If that's what you want, maybe it helps you. But since there are no mixing functions at all, what's really unfortunate, you cannot do anything. And in the DDF-350 you can mix channels with channel 1 steering, and I managed to do at least front steer, of course, four-wheel steer and grab steer, but not rear-wheel steer. I will explain a little bit later. What you of course can do also, set your steering servo to the 3-position switch, same as I showed in the HotRC, and you can do this super primitive four-wheel steer. This you can do, or you can set the rear steer servo to one of those knobs, and that way control the rear steer with the knob. It works, but it's of course not super elegant. And since those models are not only working with the model you bound them to, but with all models, you can do something more. Check this out. Transmitter settings, and check my models here. I have here front wheel steer, that's now. I have four-wheel steer, what I can choose. Rear steer servo goes in opposite direction to the front steer servo. Of course, that's depending how you mount it. But now they go in opposite direction. Let's call this four-wheel steering. And I can do grab, rear axle and front axle move to the same direction. but it's not possible to make a rear wheel steer. At least I didn't find any way, because I used the mixing functions, of course. So check what I did. Let's go to four-wheel steering, back, and model menu. And here we have the mix functions. And there are some very important points. You have to connect the rear wheel steer servo to the 3-position switch. If you connect it to one of the 2-position switches, it will not work properly, because the servo will only move in one direction. And what did I do? Here I have it on channel 7, that's the 3-position switch. I activated program mix 1, channel 1, steering with channel 7. And for going the servos, make them go to opposite direction, I moved from plus 100 here channel 1 to choose channel 7. You have to choose the channel with the 3-position switch. It will not work properly with the others. And here this is plus 100, and you have to scroll from plus 100 to minus 100. Maybe you'll ask why I didn't use simply servo reverse for this channel 7, because it doesn't work if it's on a mix. So from minus 100 to from plus 100 to minus 100, reverse and forward, and that's how you get this. And then let's go back again, transmitter settings, and now I choose my grab model. That's where the wheels will move in the same direction, front and rear wheels. And again, model menu, and you see here I have the mix channel 1, channel 7, exactly the same as in four-wheel steering, only plus 100 and plus 100. I didn't move those to minus 100, and that's how it works. Why did I not use, or why was I not able to program rear wheel steering? The only possibility I would have found is I would have made this mix again and would have set travel of the channel 1 of this servo to 0, so that channel 1 servo does not move, only the, here it's channel 7 servo now, does move. Unfortunately, as soon as you change anything in channel 1, so the main channel, the master channel, in trim or whatever, it will be also changed in the slave channel. So it's impossible. My idea was make it as here and simply set travel endpoint to 0, but that's not possible. So the slave channel will always do what the master channel does. You can only do this, change the direction so that it goes to opposite direction, what I did for four-wheel steer. So that's my way. I found a primitive way to make four-wheel steer and grab, but it's of course not super nice if you are crawling and now you want four-wheel steer, and you have to go to a model menu and then choose four-wheel steer, and then if you don't want it anymore, choose front wheel steer. So from the main channel, that's quite a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 clicks. You could drive with this. I think this will stay okay. Maybe it's okay for some of you. You use this as main page. If you want four-wheel steer, have four-wheel steer, grab, but of course by far not as convenient as if you would have a switch here with 4 positions for front, forewheel, grab and rear wheel. And I thought a lot about it. I didn't find a way to make, how could I make only rear wheel steer? That's switchable, of course. Only rear wheel steer, that's of course no problem if you connect the servo to channel 1, but a 4th model with rear wheel steer, it's not possible to change any settings only in channel 1 without changing those in the slave channel. So those are my primitive ideas for 4-wheel steering, and I really think it's a pity that neither HotRC nor DumboRC included those mixing modes into their awesome radios. Bit unfortunate, but that's the only way I found. Maybe there will be an update in future, who knows, firmware update, and they include 4-wheel steering. I guess more people would like 4-wheel steering than a trainer mode in those radios. And finally, size and feel comparison with some other very popular radios. Here the tiny awesome 6-channel DumboRC X6PM350. It's significantly smaller, and of course it doesn't have a display, but you get this for 25 bucks including receiver. That's awesome too, but you could say a different price range. The very popular FlySky radios that do come with the FMS models, the tiny crawlers and the Hobby Plus models, they are significantly smaller, but they feel good. But no display, so you can't really program them. And here a XL SCX24 V1, the old radio, so about the same size, so this feels cheaper than those ones. The ugliest radio in the world, no, one of the ugliest, RC 4-wheel drive does have similar ones. TRX 4M radio, about the same size, no problem, but that feels much larger. And well, no more words about the Traxxas radio. An XL SCX24 V2 radio, that really feels good, but that's a FlySky FS-GT4, or really all are in the same housing case, so this feels also good. It's a little bit larger than the HotRC, about the same size as the Dumbo. Now some radios with displays. Budget P52 from Turbo Racing, that's also a quite awesome radio. There is also the P32 with a smaller display, but yeah, HotRC and the Dumbo feel better. And here the super popular but already quite old FlySky GT3C, and this is 8-channel too if you do the mod, and that's really a radio, but it's super complicated to program. That's in the price range too, and that's quite an awesome radio. And since it does only have AF-HDS protocol, you can also bind the receiver, several receivers to the radio, and it will work with every channel. So yeah, this old GT3 still feels good, but a bit outdated meanwhile. And the awesome and mega popular GT5 from FlySky, also sold as really Upseamer and Turnigy, and yeah, it's mostly a little bit more expensive. Sometimes you can also get it for 55 bucks or something, and this radio does have a 4-wheel steering mode, but only 6 channels of course, while those do have 8 and 10 channels. This also feels really good. Foam wheel, DumboRC no foam wheel, that's a minus, but more programmability in the DumboRC and also in the HotRC, and easier to program. And the awesome FlySky Noble NB4, love it. So that's a different class of radio, also much easier to program, or better to program, many more options. That's an awesome radio, but it's a different price range. It also does feel better. There's a new version now, NB4 Plus. So yeah, for a Noble you get 4 of those, 5 of those, depending on the price. Noble is awesome, love it. And it's much more expensive, but of course also much better. And finally the Radio Master MT12, not the most beautiful, quite large radio, extremely capable, unbelievable with HTX, what you can do with this radio, but that's absolutely not recommended for beginners. Super complicated to program, but extremely capable if you know what to do, but few people know what to do really with HTX. Me not either. Still a beginner with this, and it's so complicated, a bit annoying. It's heavy, much heavier than those, and it's also cheap. You can get it for 130 about, but that's no beginner radio at all, while those two are highly recommended for beginners too, because they are really easy to program. And finally we come to the end of this super long and detailed video, and the final comparison. Which one should you buy, or what's better for you? The HotRC CT-8A or the Rlaarlo CT-8A or the DumboRC DDF-350. Both of those are absolutely bang for the buck and absolutely awesome radios for the price. Both have some minor flaws, but awesome programmabilities and awesome menu, and maybe the cheap price rectifies those minor flaws. And I have made a list of positives, not so of negatives, but also a few negatives of both radios you can see here, and that's only my opinion. So the HotRC CT-8A Plus, of course, is the price. It's around 10-15 bucks cheaper than the DumboRC DDF-350, and that's about 40%. The Dumbo is about 40% more expensive, but 10-15 bucks is not a lot. If one radio would be 200 and the other one 280 or 300, this would be a different story, but it's cheaper. It's much cheaper in relation, 10-15 bucks at those prices. So a clear plus for the HotRC. Also the steering wheel that comes with foam and one-hand driving knob is a plus for the HotRC radio. Another plus I think that's quite nice is this 3-position switch for all of those buttons. You can program them to be a momentary switch, 2-position and 3-position, and in some cases this can be super useful, and in the DumboRC you can only program momentary or 2-position. That's a plus for the CT-8A, and the timer is also much nicer. You have this lap count, and the timer is better or more capable in the HotRC than in the DumboRC. Then you can also use an 18650 battery in the handle. What's maybe, if you like more weight in the handle, that's also quite nice. But charging, they say you can charge this battery. I was not able, so that's a big minus. It's only a minus. You also cannot charge batteries with the DumboRC. It's only a minus because they say in their descriptions, HotRC and Rlaarlo, you can charge the 18650. I tried really intensely over days. I could not charge it. What's also a plus for the HotRC, you can check the voltage of your car or model LiPo. That's quite nice. And see it on the screen, super nice. But in the HotRC you can also calibrate the voltage of this reading of your model LiPo. The DumboRC also can read and will show the voltage of your model LiPo, but at least I didn't find an option to calibrate this. Only calibrate the battery in the battery of the radio. What's quite a bummer for me in the HotRC is I'm not able, 8 channels work, but I cannot plug 8 normal servo plugs into the receiver here. There is simply not enough room. That's quite a bummer, I think, but mostly you won't use 8 channels anyway. And what's a minus for the HotRC? It doesn't have a 4-wheel steering mode, but the same minus for the DumboRC. I don't understand why HotRC and DumboRC didn't include a 4-wheel steering mode with front steer, 4-wheel steering, grab and rear wheel steering as they did, for example. Not they, as for example FlySky did in the GT5. I think many people would have liked and loved this, and now as it is now, it's nearly impossible to do 4-wheel steering with the HotRC, only this primitive way, and it's also not really convenient to do 4-wheel steering with the DumboRC, even if you can do it. The plus for the DumboRC DDF-350, in my opinion, okay, it's more expensive, but look and feel are better than in the HotRC. So mainly the part here, not the handle, but mainly the part here looks really much better, and also the battery compartment. And what's a real big plus for me is the display. So it's larger, but it's also much better readable. That's a plus. You in the HotRC display, when you try to name your model, that's nearly impossible to see on this screen brown. They should change the color scheme in the HotRC. That's a much better here in the DumboRC. And what's a big plus for few people, not for all, maybe not for most of you who watch my video, but I know here locally the DumboRC doesn't only have an English and Chinese manual as the HotRC, but you can also switch to German and to French, and I know many people who love this. I can't understand it, but it's super important for many people. What's also super nice in the DumboRC, you can name your model with 12 digits, and much better and much easier, much more convenient to name, and many more possibilities. In the HotRC CT-8A you can only use 6 digits, what's not super. And one of the biggest plus for me, the DumboRC does have those 2 control dials or knobs, and that's super convenient. That's super useful in many cases, and the HotRC doesn't have any wheel or knob or control dial. What's also for me personally quite important, and I think that's super nice, there are many different receivers. I made a special video about all DumboRC receivers, but the 10-channel X10F, which comes with this radio, because this was not available at that time. So every receiver, and there are so many, they are cheap. You have tiny ones, including gyro, even including ESC, but the ESC is not really good. And the most popular X6F without gyro, you can buy with case and without case, because that's the version without case. super tiny with normal servo plugs and 6-channel, and those tiny ones, I love those, but they do have 1.5 millimeter ZH, JST ZH plugs. Many people don't like it, I love it. So watch maybe the video about my reviews and explanations of the DumboRC radios, and meanwhile I've also figured out what this means, control lights by every channel here in this X10F, and that's also probably the case in the other receiver that can do it, in the 6-channel receiver. Another plus, of course, is the DumboRC does have 8. The DumboRC DDF-350 does have 10 channels, and the HotRC only 8 channels. And those buttons here, 3, they are quite convenient. I really like this. Of course, that's a plus for the DumboRC. What you can also do is mixing with channel 1. What's super nice, you saw it when I did it for 4-wheel steering, and that's also quite important in many cases, and you cannot do this with the HotRC radio. So a big plus for the DumboRC. And you also can control lights. If you have those receivers with light controllers, that's also super nice. And you can adjust the gyro by a knob here, and you can adjust an internal gyro of the receiver. If you buy a receiver with gyro integrated, you can adjust it here, and what's even better, you can also adjust the external gyros. At least the DumboRC, they are quite okay by this knob. Super convenient. You can use a gyro with the HotRC radio, but there is no wheel to adjust the gyro sensitivity on the fly here. And if you want, you can use a 3S LiPo if that's a plus for you in the DumboRC, so 2S and 3S LiPo and AA batteries. Well, you can only use a 2S LiPo in the HotRC radio, but you can use 18650 in the handle for that, and AA's if that's important for you. So this was my final comparison, and for me there's no question, okay, it's only 10-15 bucks difference, but if that's not so important for you, and it's really not much, I would always then choose the DumboRC DDF-350 and prefer it to the HotRC lap timer. Okay, quite nice, not so important for me. The most important things for me are those turning knobs or control dials and the availability of many different receivers. They are all cheap, and that's super nice, and also the display readability. So that's everything I have to say. I guess you know everything now, so that you can make your decision which radio is the right one for you. Both are awesome, and if someone's really still here and watched all of this ultra long video, thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the next video. I'll be back.